This is Coach Lee, and you're listening to The Door Report.
Won't somebody please think of the children?
I felt like I was on a spaceship, and I'm not sure what to do with my hands.
Be good just to hold them down by your side. Yeah, great.
Well, we were real happy with what was going on, and at the end of the day, you got to be happy.
Welcome back into The Door Report, and welcome into episode 338 on a lovely, actually very lovely Tuesday evening, October 21st, 2025. I am Will Byrum, joined as always by my plaid-wearing co-host, Trevor Hulan, aka Hack Squat Jim Duggan, getting into the fall mood.
Ooh, dude, yeah, I had to bust out the little. This is, how every man has that one shirt that he wears is like my mom has had to sew this pocket on so many times. She had to sew on so many buttons. I will die with this shirt in my possession.
Dude, I have a tan hoodie or khaki colored hoodie that is exactly like that. I will wear that thing until the arm or the sleeves fall off of it. But here at the Door Report, we are presented by 615 Collectibles. If you're into sports cards or sports memorabilia, check out 615 Collectibles on eBay. Items include NFL team packs, graded cards, individual cards, and more. Shipping is always fast and free. We also have, as people have gotten fully used to it, Rhoback Activewear. There is only one way to describe Rhoback: best fit, best feel. For those who aren't familiar with Rhoback, they are completely changing the game with their incredibly comfortable activewear. Rhoback has released so many items within their newly licensed GameDay collection, and it's our favorite. With novel polo designs and clean hoodie and quarter-zip designs for some of your favorite schools, it's definitely worth checking out. Nobody else on the market is pairing these levels of custom designs with this quality of activewear. Rhoback's everyday shorts or their Delta performance pants are the perfect pairing as well. They are both super comfortable, have an elastic waistband, and great fabric that is made to have the appearance of a nice short look, but the comfort for a day on the move. Rhoback has also been proudly leading the NIL charge, having signed partnerships with multiple college football stars, both past and present, and are becoming the go-to brand for college athletes across the country. You can use code VAN20. That is VAN20, all capital letters, no spaces, on Rhoback.com for a generous 20% off for all new customers. That's spelled Rhoback, RHOBACK.com. That's 20% off all performance polos, shorts, and more with code VAN20. Trevor, on episode 338, we have, wait for it, a beefy episode ahead. We have the Vanderbilt LSU recap. What a magical day on West End. The Vanderbilt Commodores, ranked number 17 at the time, took down the number 10 LSU Tigers 31-24. After we recap that game, give our three key takeaways, we are going to, for about 5 minutes, don't get stressed out, going to kind of recap and give some thoughts and takeaways from Vanderbilt's exhibition game against Virginia, some key standout players, but mostly I'm going to direct you to thedoreport.com to read Alex's recap and takeaway article. See today, full stock up, stock down article for premium members of thedoreport.com. And then me and Trevor are going to get to, wait for it, college game day and Vanderbilt against Missouri. We're going to preview that game, give a brief preview, and then get into our three keys to the game as well as our predictions. Trevor, the Vanderbilt Commodores right now ranked number 10 in the country, a top 10 program in Nashville on West End for the first time since 1947. Trevor, the best way to start this is how we started almost all the episodes. What's the vibe? Let's get a vibe check going.
Vibe check. I can't even put a number to it. You know what I mean? I can't even put a number to it.
I would say 19.47 out of 10,
possibly. I mean, it's rare that I'm at a loss for words whenever it comes to Vanderbilt athletics and particularly Vanderbilt football. But as of late, I really have been finding myself at a loss for words whenever it comes to this football team. Man, it's just, I don't want to get on a soapbox again, but both you and I and everybody listening to this cares so incredibly deeply about Vanderbilt athletics and really Vanderbilt football. And we have sat through some of the most horrendous football anybody could ever imagine. And, there's just not a fan base in the world, in college, professional, in any sport, that deserves this more than the Vanderbilt fan base. And it's corny. I don't give a rip, but it's anytime I see the number 10 next to Vanderbilt's name, I found myself like getting borderline emotional. And so, man, it just, it feels special. It feels special.
I don't want to go too long in the intro here, but Chris Phillips of SEC Unfiltered posted something on Instagram and Twitter about Vanderbilt fans being the most deserving fan base to have this happening to them. And just to take that a little bit of a step further, I talked about this. I've talked about it multiple times. Other fan bases like to call themselves tortured or that they're loyal to a fault. And man, you just got to be a little mentally ill to be a fan of this program. That's not true. If you are a real diehard Vanderbilt fan, and most of the people listening to this are diehard Vanderbilt fans, there is, and I don't overuse this term, there is literally, like you said, no fan base that has actually been as tortured as Vanderbilt fans. Everybody that is a diehard Vanderbilt fan, what you have sat through, if you've been a season ticket holder for a long time, the bad football you have sat through. You talked about it. What if it all led to this?
Mm-hmm.
What if it all led to this season? And it's not just a pipe dream anymore.
Yeah.
This Vanderbilt football team is a top 10 team. If you would have told me this in 2023, I could not have believed, I would not have believed you. It feels like some glitch in the simulation. It feels like we're living through, in the most positive way, a fever dream.
Mm-hmm.
You have Indiana sitting at number 2, Georgia Tech sitting at number 7, and Vanderbilt sitting at number 10. While NIL and the transfer portal, to some extent, has destroyed parity between the Power 4 and G5 schools, it is escalated, elevated, whatever the right word is, the parity within those conferences. Everybody thought that it was going to kill parity. It has done the complete opposite.
Mm-hmm.
College football is a complete chaos land right now, and I think every college football fan that can objectively take a step back loves what they're seeing right now. You always say, everybody always says they want to see chaos in the college football season. Well, you've got it.
Mm-hmm.
This might be the most chaos ever in a single season.
It doesn't feel real, man. It really doesn't. And Saturday didn't feel real. And Sunday at 1:00, when I saw the tweet that Vanderbilt was number 10 in the nation, that didn't feel real. Like, I think of all the Vanderbilt fans that have come before me who have lived long lives loving Vanderbilt football and have died without seeing anything close to this type of success. And man, it's just, I'm naturally an emotional guy. Anybody that knows me knows that I like to wear my heart on my sleeve, especially when it comes to Vanderbilt athletics. But man, it's hard for me not to get overly emotional about Vandy football and this team in particular.
When MK Young broke that run, and we will get to this after the intro here, when MK Young broke that run, and then Pavia, really when MK Young broke the run, I started getting tears welling up in my eyes because it was the reality of this is happening. Vanderbilt was up 7. There were less than 3 minutes left. Worst case, you were coming out of there up 2 scores. And of course, then Diego Pavia broke a 12 or 14-yard run, dove down inside the 1-yard line instead of punching it in, and completely ended the game before kneeling it out. It was surreal. Vanderbilt did not trail the entire second half of that game. They didn't just go in there and sneak out there. Some weird things happened. There were no turnovers on either side. There wasn't chaos. Vanderbilt just plain and simple beat number 10 LSU. After a disappointing performance against Alabama, once again getting a chance to be on ABC, Vanderbilt stepped up. Another example of this is not the same old Vanderbilt. But we have a ton to get to in segment 1. We will have a lot more thoughts on that game as well as the preview of Missouri. But before we get to all that and much more, we are now a part of the On3 Publisher Network. Visit thedoorreport.com today and subscribe to a monthly or annual premium membership and support TDR for access to premium content and our premium message board behind closed doors. Also, don't forget to follow us on Twitter and Instagram at The Door Report. Like us on Facebook. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. Our podcast is available on iTunes, Spotify, YouTube, and Google Podcasts. And while you're at it, give our podcast 5 stars and a review on iTunes and subscribe to that YouTube channel. It's now time for segment 1. Welcome back into episode 338 of The Door Report, and welcome into segment 1. To start off, we have the Vanderbilt LSU game recap to get to. Vanderbilt beat the LSU Tigers 31-24 in a phenomenally exciting game on West End on ABC. An 11 a.m. kick was not a drowsy 11 a.m. kick. I don't think this game played out at all how analysts expected. There were offensive fireworks on both sides, and all week it was constantly about this LSU defense, and their offense has struggled, and Vanderbilt's going to struggle to move the ball. That wasn't the case. I think the first punt was in the fourth quarter.
Yeah.
I mean, both offenses were able to move the ball up and down the field. Vanderbilt just executed better, and the defense stood up when it mattered. So, Trevor, usually right now is when we have been reading off the full box score and team stats. We are going to jump right into our 3 key takeaways and then hit on whatever stats and whatever we need to that we don't hit on in our 3 key takeaways. We're trying to gear up for basketball season a little bit here too and get our episode timeline a little more down, because otherwise during basketball season, these episodes are going to be 3.5 hours. So we're going to jump right into our 3 key takeaways. Trevor, I'll let you go first.
The real first key takeaway should be, and everybody else's key takeaway is going to be Diego Pavia, rightfully so. However, the true heroes of this football game was the Vanderbilt offensive line. The Vanderbilt offensive line absolutely skull-dragged a really, really, really good LSU defensive front all game long. And this is not just a one-off thing. Vanderbilt's offensive line has done this to LSU, has done this to Alabama, and has done this to Dylan Stewart in that South Carolina defensive front. Guys, this is not just a good offensive line for Vanderbilt. This is not just a good SEC offensive line. Listen to me when I say this. This is one of the best offensive lines in the nation. You put those 5 boys up against any other 5 boys in America. You put the ball down, I'm taking the fellas in black and gold. Cade McConnell.
Dog.
Maybe the best rep I've ever seen from an offensive lineman or a guard in my entire life. Isaiah Glass, putting dudes on an island in space and just having his way with them. Jordan White, guys listening, Jordan White is going to be a first-team All-American. Jordan White is going to play in the NFL for a very, very, very long time. He's going to be incredibly successful. You know who else is going to be successful? Guard Chase Mitchell. Chase Mitchell did his damnedest at tackle last year, played out of position and was good. Moved him back inside. He has been nothing short of exceptional at guard. And then let's go out to Bryce. Bryce, what a welcomed addition. It is an anomaly that a man at his size and stature is able to move as fluidly as he is out in space, out at tackle. This Vanderbilt offensive line deserves so much credit. And I'm glad that the national media is starting to call them out on it, and they are starting to get the recognition that they deserve, whether it be from CBS or the Joe Moore Award. But I want to shout out this Vanderbilt offensive line. This is the best Vanderbilt offensive line in the history of Vanderbilt football. This is the best offensive line in the SEC. And like I said, put the ball down. I would take those 5 guys over any offensive line in America. Shout out to the Vanderbilt offensive line. Shout out to Chris Klenakis.
Yeah, I think this is not an exaggeration. This is not just me and or Trevor. I say me and Trevor, but I wholeheartedly agree with what Trevor just said. It would have been one of my key takeaways had Trevor not taken it there. We discussed this beforehand. Trevor informed me because he knew. But this
I wanted to shout out the boys.
Yeah, this is discussion on SEC Network. This is discussion from national media. I think it's pretty much there are very good offensive lines in the SEC. I think it's Alabama and Vanderbilt are probably the two best offensive lines in the SEC. And I think there's debate about which one, but it's like you said, it's in the past, it's always been this is a good offensive line for Vanderbilt. And the idea that Vanderbilt could even be a middle tier SEC offensive line, it's like that's a great offensive line for Vanderbilt. This isn't some middle tier SEC offensive line. They've proven it week in, week out. All we heard all week was about this LSU defense. All we heard was about this is going to be the reality check. You're not going to be able to move the ball up and down the field against this LSU. Guess what Vanderbilt did?
Skull dragged
They
them.
moved the ball up and down the field against this LSU defense. They also did it against Alabama.
Yeah.
They just turned the ball over twice in the red zone. I don't want to hit on any of my keys here, so I'll go to my key takeaway number one, which is kind of broad, but I think it needs to be the key takeaway number one, and it's not Diego Pavia. It is Vanderbilt got back to Vanderbilt football. It was my most important takeaway in my key takeaways article right after the game. Vanderbilt against Alabama ran the ball 6 times to their running backs. They ran the ball 18 times total as a team and threw the ball 35 times. That's not Vanderbilt football. Tim Beck got back to the basics. They ran the ball down LSU's throat. Even though at times it was not successful, they stuck with it, utilized jet sweeps, got linebackers out of position, and eventually, you know what? MK Young popped a big run. Popped a big run to seal the game. Diego Pavia was phenomenal against this defense, finding rushing lanes. Vanderbilt ran the ball. Let me make sure I'm quoting this as 45 times for 239 yards against this LSU defense. 45 rushing attempts. They ran the ball 18 times against Alabama. This was Vanderbilt getting back to Vanderbilt football, utilizing tight ends, running the damn football, winning time of possession. Vanderbilt won time of possession. They possessed the ball for 36 minutes, 31 seconds. It was actually a little more decisive than that at times during the game. But Vanderbilt did what Vanderbilt does. They got the ball into playmakers' hands in space. They utilized every bit of that three-headed monster in the backfield. This was Vanderbilt football at its best. And the part that I didn't want to take away is from my key here is the only team that can stop this Vanderbilt offense is Vanderbilt. It's as simple as that. And they stopped themselves against Alabama. It doesn't mean that they're going to win every game and put up 30-plus points every single game. That's not what it means. You saw them put up 14 points against Alabama, but that was because of 2 red zone turnovers, 2 very uncharacteristic red zone turnovers. You know how many times Vanderbilt turned the ball over against LSU? 0. This was Vanderbilt football, and they got back to it. I saw there was another post, hate to mention him twice, but he was in lot 2 with us cheering on the doors. Chris Phillips had a rant or a prediction about this game saying Vanderbilt needs to get back to playing Vanderbilt football. And he got a lot of hate for saying that on the internet. People, clowning him in the comments like, what even is Vanderbilt football? It's like this. What you saw on Saturday on ABC against the top 10 team, that was Clark Lee. That was Vanderbilt football. And damn, what a time to be a Door. So that's my key takeaway number one. Vanderbilt got back to playing Vanderbilt football.
Yeah, I think if we had to give Vanderbilt football a nickname this year, it's ruthless bully ball. That is the identity of Vanderbilt football, is ruthless bully ball. I love that key. I'm going to go other side of the ball. LSU, not a great offense. They were able to score some points. However, I do want to give credit where credit is due. Defense did their job in the red zone. This is something that I will stand on. I've said it once. I've said it again. I really don't care how many yards a team puts up. I don't care how efficient they are. I want to know whenever it gets down in the nitty-gritty, in the red zone, on the goal line, can my defense get stops and can they turn touchdowns into field goals? And that's what this Vanderbilt defense did. I want to highlight some guys really on the front end. We do not give Miles Capers, Corday Sidnor, and Josh Singh enough credit. We do not. I get it. Diego Pavia is the star. Eli Stowers is the star. We do not give Capers, Sidnor, Singh, and I'll add Zaylen Wood enough credit. We do. These guys are irreplaceable for the Vanderbilt defense, continually making plays time after time after time, and they do not get the credit they deserve. I really want to highlight the Vanderbilt defense as a whole, but I really want to focus on those guys. I think those guys are absolutely crucial to the success of this Vanderbilt defense and to the success of this Vanderbilt football team as a whole. One more guy I want to shout out on the defensive end that has been really, really good, and I think actually made a really good play on Saturday and was unfairly penalized. I want to shout out Colby Taylor for a guy who rightfully so got a lot of crap thrown at him last year for how he reacted on the field, his play, a guy that has cleaned it up and a guy that has been really, really, really good in pass coverage and has upped his game whenever it comes to tackling. I want to highlight Colby Taylor. He's been a wonderful, wonderful player this year. And I'll say that flag that he got thrown at for PI was unnecessary. That's a very clean play. Perfect textbook by Colby Taylor.
So I'm just going to leave what my key takeaway number 2 was in there, even though it was very similar to yours, because I'm going to approach it from a slightly different perspective. So I'm going to say my key takeaway number 2 is, as I have it written down, the defense did enough. So you said the defense did their job. I'm going to say the defense did enough. I don't think by any stretch of the imagination this was a great or even good performance by this Vanderbilt defense. I think they would be the first to tell you that. Xavier Thomas broke a touchdown that should have been at most a 6-yard gain. Looked like it was going to be a sack.
Yeah.
But there were small instances throughout this game where the defense did their job and did enough to give the offense a chance to win the ball game. Number 1, Vanderbilt went for it with about 3 minutes left or 2 minutes left in the first half from 4th and 1 on their own 44, 46. Diego Pavia got sacked. The defense gets the stop, forces a field goal. Vanderbilt still up 14-13. Vanderbilt gets the ball back before half, gets the field goal back, goes into half up 17-13. On a run broken by Caden Durham, Jordan Matthews chases him down, tackles him inside the 2-yard line. On a play that's now they have 3 downs to score. They're still going to score. Vanderbilt was up 31-21. That effort play, Jordan Matthews brings him down. False start on LSU. Vanderbilt gets the stop, forces a field goal. In the fourth quarter, Vanderbilt forced 2 punts from the LSU defense as well. They didn't play incredibly well. They made mistakes, but they stepped up when it mattered most. And the thing with the Jordan Matthews play that I want to hit on, it's not that Vanderbilt defenses didn't play hard in the past. That's not the case at all. That Jordan Matthews play is indicative of what is different about this Vanderbilt team. Players always attempted to chase down the running back, whatever it was. The difference is now with that effort combined with the skill and talent and athleticism of the players, Jordan Matthews was able to chase him down and tackle him inside the 5. It's not always just an effort thing. You got to have the talent and athleticism. Vanderbilt has that now, and I'm glad you brought up Joshua Singh as well because he had a hell of a ball game. Absolutely dominant ball game. And Zaylen Wood had maybe one of the best bull rushes you're going to see this entire year. Just bullied that redshirt freshman left tackle for LSU. So the defense was not great, was not good, but they did enough for Vanderbilt to win. And at times, that's all you need. So that's my key takeaway number 2, basically the same exact one you had.
Yeah, my key takeaway number 3 is once again, I'm going to get hyper specific and I'm going to highlight one individual in particular. Man, have a ball game, Cole Spence.
Great key.
A dude that came in as a freshman was athletic, but man, all scrawny as hell. There was questions: is he physical? Is he physical enough? Can he put on the weight? Can he be a blocker out on the edge? Cole Spence has done all of that and more. Everything that this staff and this team has asked of Cole Spence, he has done. He has put on weight. He has become one of the most physical tight ends in America, one of the best blocking tight ends in America. And I feel like he gets credit for that, but not enough as he should. But, man, what a force he is whenever it comes to pass pro and in the run game with his blocking ability, but also a guy that is incredibly athletic. And I think this was the Cole Spence breakout game to where you saw not only what he can do in the blocking game, but also how versatile he is just as an overall offensive weapon and what he can do in the pass game. Cole Spence, have yourself a game, my man. He deserves it. Talk about a dude that down in and down out does nothing but eat shit. And what I mean by that is a dude that just puts his hat on a hat and trades paint with another dude. And that doesn't show up in the box score. That doesn't show up on Cole Spence had 4 really good blocks, sprung open a run. None of that shows up, but the people in that locker room realize it, and the fans who watch realize it. And he deserved to have those touchdowns and those really big plays that he had this weekend. So shout out to Cole Spence.
Led the team in receiving, 5 catches for 56 yards and a touchdown. Made some highlight catches, some athletic catches out there. 6'7" tight end Cole Spence. It was a tight end show. I'm not gonna lie. I personally think you saw 3 future NFL tight ends on that field. The 2 obvious ones are Eli Stowers and Trey'Dez Green for LSU. Trey'Dez Green's a freak.
Yeah,
that dude's a freak. Even with Fontenette shadowing him most of the game, he was unstoppable. And then you throw in Cole Spence there. There's no doubt he's going to be getting looks from NFL teams with that size, blocking ability, and ability to catch the football. We haven't hit on the most obvious takeaway from this game yet. And so I'll hit on that for my key takeaway number 3. Diego Pavia was magical and is magical. Coming off what was probably his worst performance in black and gold against Alabama, 2 red zone turnovers, all the hate, all the negativity from not just social media, but the media in general. Pavia was on the big stage. College Game Day was in Tuscaloosa. He talked all his talk like he usually does, and he stepped out there. He did not perform to the best of his abilities. This was about, and the box score does not do it justice, but this was about as perfect of a game as you can possibly play from Diego Pavia. 14 of 22 on the day. I'm going to get the stats in front of me so I get them 100% right. 14 of 22 on the day, 160 yards, 1 touchdown, 0 interceptions, and 93.1 QBR, as well as led the team in rushing, 17 carries for 86 yards and 2 touchdowns. Could have been 3 touchdowns, but made the smart move to go down and win the game instead of padding his stats. The awareness, the control of the offense, making plays at key moments, including a 4th and 1 conversion on just the Heisman play, the highlight play, whatever you want to call it, just had the nation's eyes upon him and just stepped up in the biggest moment. All the pressure that he felt going into this game and just completely stepped up, took on the pressure, and performed at that level is just incredible in a way that we've never seen a Vanderbilt quarterback perform, ever. I mean, he is the best player on the field every single time he steps on the field. He believes it, and people around watching are starting to believe it. So my key takeaway number 3, even though it is very chalk, Diego Pavia was magical.
Yeah.
And there's no other word to describe it.
And he deserves it. And you know what? The Heisman campaign is all steam ahead, full steam ahead, #2turn. Get this guy to New York, Vandy fans. The Heisman committee looks at social media engagement and hashtags and interactions. #2turn. That is Vanderbilt's official campaign for him. Blow that up, dude. Get Diego Pavia to New York.
So that is our 3 key takeaways. I'm not going to do a full box score read here because we've hit on a lot of the key stats. I do want to shout out some individual guys. You already shouted out Cole Spence, 5 catches, 56 yards, and a touchdown. Junior Sherrill's stats, not going to pop off the page. 2 catches for 30 yards, but one of those catches was in a key moment, one-on-one on the outside. Both of his catches were NFL-type routes and NFL-type catches, just one-on-one against elite cornerbacks from LSU. One of them led to Vanderbilt starting that drive at the end of the first half, picking up a huge 3 points to close out the first half. I also want to shout out MK Young. There has never been a player that, Trevor, you have been more right about. MK Young is that guy that Vanderbilt desperately needed. He is the change of pace back. And then also combined with that is Cedric Alexander and MK Young are just such a dynamic combo.
Yeah.
Cedric Alexander, 13 carries, 42 yards, 1 touchdown. Doesn't always get the glory runs, but damn, he's a tough runner.
He's just he's a bulldozer, man. He's, if you don't want to get hit, get out the way because Cedric Alexander's coming.
He's going to run through you. And then the moment,
or he's going to jump over you.
1, 2, 3 times in a possession, Cedric Alexander's going to run right through you. And then the moment that you're feeling a little wore down as a defense, here comes a complete change of pace back in MK Young. That's just going to cut right around you and break that big run. He had multiple big runs throughout this game. One guy that I do want to point out, Trey Richardson, had one of the most brutal drops that I've seen as a Vanderbilt fan. That one was brutal. On 3rd down and what would have sealed the game at the time. Thankfully, it didn't come back to bite him, but that is a play that would have haunted Vanderbilt fans' nightmares for years to come. Just a beautifully thrown ball by Diego Pavia. But Trey Richardson got open, I have faith he's going to not do that again. But multiple times he looked really good in those jet sweeps.
Yeah.
And so that's what I wanted to shout out, but I had to address that first. 3 carries for 22 yards. Man, he is tough to tackle. when he gets the ball in
I'm
his
glad
hands.
that Tim Beck also learned his lesson and got Trey Richardson the ball. Just it doesn't matter whether it's in the run game or short pass, long pass. Let Trey Richardson get a hold of the ball and just let him work.
Yep, had a great return as well on his first kickoff return of the game. Some defensive guys I want to shout out. Langston Patterson, I thought, had a really good game.
Yeah.
Also, Mark Davis, I thought, had a really, really good game as well. That's about it on the defense. Obviously, a lot of guys had good games, but I think we shouted out Joshua Singh was phenomenal, like you said. And then I want to shout out another guy that he gets plenty of love, but he deserves it after watching a lot more games on Saturday. Brock Taylor.
Yep.
When he steps up for anything inside of 55 yards, my confidence level is through the roof. Just steps up, 46-yard field goal at the end of the half that's in a key moment, just drills it.
Yep.
Just drills it. Never a doubt. That's something you take for granted until you don't have it. And Brock Taylor is a hell of a kicker. So that's the stats I wanted to run through. On the LSU side, really quickly, Xavier Thomas had that big 62-yard touchdown catch, which was poor tackling by Vanderbilt. It's just plain and simple. Caden Durham, 7 carries for 59 yards. Garrett Nussmeier, 19 attempts for 28 yards, 225 yards, and 2 touchdowns. He had a good ball game.
Yeah.
He made some very, very tough throws under pressure. Vanderbilt did a good job of getting pressure on him, but damn, he got the ball away. Now, I will say something's still not right with Garrett Nussmeier.
He limped off a lot.
His ball doesn't have that zip on it. The announcers kept saying it did. It felt like so many of those passes were just floated out there, and a lot of that was due to the pressure.
Yeah.
But something's not quite right with Garrett Nussmeier right now. So I will add that on. LSU fans, I'm sure, will take great offense to that, as they seem to do for some reason. Anything else you want to add onto the Vanderbilt LSU recap here, Trevor?
I still can't believe it. I mean, I really can't. I still can't believe it.
It was a great time in lot 2. Thank you to everybody that came out. I wish I could remember the guy's name. He came with his daughter. He made these shirts for
he
us.
gave me one as well.
If you're watching on YouTube, I'm showing the shirt.
Gorgeous shirt.
So I promised him I would rock it on the episode. I'm a man of my word. Incredible shirt. We are going to save premium message board questions until after the preview of the Vanderbilt Missouri game. But I do want to shout out one group that did not play on the field in particular. I have been hypercritical of the game day ops crew.
Yep.
They stepped it up.
They did.
For this one. The game day experience in your seat was 10 times better than it's been. They finally turned up the speakers. Finally. Replays. No complaints here on the replays. They actually got replays up on the board. The game day experience was so much better.
The music
simple
selection was better.
2 simple things. Very simple. And they did it. They did it. So they deserve credit. If I'm going to criticize when they fix it, I'm going to give them all the credit in the world. It was a way better experience inside of First Bank Stadium this Saturday.
Absolutely. Yeah, shout out to those fellas and ladies. I'm sure there are some. So
that is it for the Vanderbilt LSU recap. To say it again, just because I want to hear it, Vanderbilt beat number 10 LSU 31-24 to move to 6-1 on the season. And another thing I forgot to hit on, you know what I've heard no discussion about? And I think Blake Fromang tweeted this. I've heard no discussion about Vanderbilt becoming bowl eligible. No celebration about them being bowl eligible. They just are.
Dude, I forgot we were bowl eligible.
They just are.
Oh my God, you're right.
That shows you how far and how much the expectations have shifted this year. Is nobody's even talking about that.
I forgot this team was bowl eligible.
And it's crazy to look back because my bet actually cashed out. Thank you, FanDuel, for not waiting until the end of the season. But I had Vanderbilt for 6+ wins on the year. People forget that was at plus 155 for Vanderbilt to win 6 football games. It is phenomenal what has happened. We internally had very high expectations for this team. Trevor, higher than I did, but had very high expectations for this team. And the over-under on wins for this Vanderbilt team was 4.5. It's 4.5 wins for this Vanderbilt football team. What they have done so far this year is phenomenal. Now, was that line screwed up? Absolutely. That was a stupid-ass line. But Vanderbilt has blown it out of the water, sitting at 6-1, moving LSU to 5-2. Vanderbilt 2-1 in SEC play. Before we go to the TDR cocktail break, for like less than 5 minutes, because it did happen, I'm going to discuss some takeaways from the Vanderbilt, Virginia exhibition basketball game, the first exhibition open to fans of the season. And basketball season is quickly approaching. November 3rd is the first game of the basketball season. That's 2 weeks away.
Yeah.
2 weeks away. And we're going to have Vanderbilt basketball. So I was at that. I don't have anything written down. So this is going to be all off the dome. Let's hope I don't forget anything. So how Vanderbilt did it is they played 12-minute quarters, 4 quarters. They were 2 separate games. Vanderbilt won both of those games. Some quick takeaways from how the guys played. Number 1, Tyler Tanner, breakout season. It's incoming. There was no doubt after watching that scrimmage, Tyler Tanner was the best player on that court. No doubt in my mind at all. Trevor can't really comment on this because he actually wasn't there.
Yeah,
Fake
I
fan,
wasn't there.
fake
Yeah.
fan, Trevor
Oh my
Hulan.
god. Do you have season tickets? I got season tickets. You got season tickets?
He didn't show up to the exhibition game. But Tyler Tanner, he shot the ball phenomenally well. It looks like he has worked on that jumper, which was the main reason that I was like, you can't have him and AJ Hogarth on the court at the same time. And they kept wanting to do that consistently. Multiple steals. He was in complete control of this Vanderbilt offense. Also, Miles Davis. He's going to be a fan favorite. I'm telling you. The Oklahoma transfer, he was phenomenal as well. Plays hard, can shoot the ball. Also, Tyler Harris, he is as advertised. He is going to be probably, if I had to guess right now, Tyler Harris is going to be Vanderbilt's leading scorer this year, if I just had to guess. And I want to correct something I said last episode. I said George Kimball would be Vanderbilt's leading scorer. Completely slipped on my mind. George Kimball's out this season. He's not playing this season. So bad look on me, non-ball knower look. On the interior,
Hey, it takes a big man to admit that he was wrong.
and I'm that big man.
It takes hashtag big man.
On the interior, some concerns slightly. Vanderbilt did not rebound very well against Virginia. Virginia does have quite a bit of size, but Jalen Washington, very athletic, good size. Vanderbilt actually really struggled with secondary rebounders, so guards, forwards blocking out. Vanderbilt did struggle. That was the only part they really struggled with Virginia. You did not see a lot out of Frankie Collins. Frankie Collins did not play a ton of minutes, and when he was out there, didn't do that well. He wasn't horrible or anything, but I just expected more out of Frankie Collins. Devin McLaughlin was exactly Devin McLaughlin. Tyler Nickel looks exactly like Tyler Nickel. A lot of what this team is what you would expect, I will say, which is good. That's a good thing. But the 3 standouts to me are Miles Davis, a little bit unexpected. He was outstanding. Tyler Tanner was better than my wildest expectations could have possibly been. And then the biggest compliment I can give, Tyler Harris, was exactly what you wanted to see out of Tyler Harris. So that's my very, very quick rundown of what I saw during the Vanderbilt Virginia exhibition game. If you want to read more about it or read more in detail, Alex Kerbigov did an incredible job writing a recap available on thedoreport.com, as well as did a full breakdown of every single player on the roster and if their stock was up, remained the same, or went down. So that's the quick recap of Vanderbilt versus Virginia. Trevor, anything else you want out on segment 1 before we go to the TDR cocktail break?
Yeah, that win was for Jerry DiNardo, you swamp rats. Also, I don't know if we want to tell it. LSU fans tried to kill my dad. Do you want the story?
Let's hear the story.
Okay, so there was an LSU fan who was right beside our tailgate who was just like cooking up this Cajun whatever. He's, oh yeah, eat this. And just like, I'm like, I don't want your food. I don't know you. I'm really weird. If I don't know you, I'm not eating your food. He comes over. He gives my mom this like crawfish freaking toaster strudel looking thing. And my mom's like, I'm not eating crawfish. My dad's like, she's like, I don't want to throw it away. It's rude. He's right there. My dad's like, okay, I guess I'll eat it. My dad eats it. Halfway through the game, my dad always stands up on 3rd down, always standing up. My dad was sitting down on 3rd down, just like massaging his head. I'm like, yo, something's wrong with dad. I like look over at mom. I'm like, is he okay? No, he says he's dizzy. I was like, oh gosh. And I'm like starting to get worried about my dad. He goes to the bathroom. I don't want to air my dad out. I love my dad. He's gone for like 30 minutes. I'm texting him constantly through the game, like, are you okay? Are you okay? Do I need to come check on you? He's like, no, I'm fine. I'm fine. He stops responding to my text messages. I call him and I text him one more time. I go, Dad, if you don't answer my calls, I'm going to come check on you. He doesn't answer. I go down. My dad is outside of the bathroom, leaned up against one of the posts, just like looking like he's about to die, just watching the game on the TV. I try to nurse my dad back to health. My dad got food poisoning. In short, my dad got food poisoning from this freaking Cajun Freaks crawfish Stromboli or whatever the hell he fed him, tried to kill my dad. So LSU was 0 for 2 on the day. They were 0 for 2 on the gridiron. They were 0 for 2 for trying to kill my father. I will note, my dad, with immense food poisoning, still made it back up to his seat to watch the finish of the game. That's a true fan right there. Shout out to my dad.
I never would have known. I sit 2 rows behind Trevor. I had no idea that was going on.
People were like fanning him off and like giving. People were very sweet. Shout out to the people of Section F taking care of my father. They were fanning him. They were giving him ice. Everybody sits around us. Thank you so much.
So I did eat that guy's food as well. No problems with the cast iron stomach, I will say.
Dude, I was worried. I was like, Dad, do I need to take you somewhere?
Great.
I was like, Dad, I'll leave this game right now to get you to the hospital. I swear.
All right, everybody out there, grab yourself a non-tainted beverage. And we will be right back after the TDR cocktail break. Welcome back from the TDR cocktail break, and welcome into segment 2 of episode 338 of the Door Report. We are previewing a top 15 matchup that College Game Day will be at. Vanderbilt, number 10 in the country, versus number 15, Missouri. And this sounds crazy. If you told somebody this in 2022, they would say you're on crack. This is one of the biggest games with college football playoff implications in the entire country. Whatever team wins this game is going to have the inside track to a college football playoff spot.
Yeah.
Definitively. That is why College Game Day is coming. What a scene it should be on West End. College Game Day will be at Wyatt Lawn on Vanderbilt's campus. If you don't know where that is, there are plenty of maps. I'm sure you can find it. What time does College Game Day start?
8 o'clock Central Standard Time is whenever they start airing.
People will be camping out. It's going to be a great scene.
Yeah.
This game is fascinating.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to lie. Researching it, I already have watched quite a bit of Missouri, but researching this game, fascinating. Two teams that are very different, but at the same time are almost mirror images of each other, both with mobile quarterbacks, both with talented tight ends, both with very talented running backs. Missouri with possibly the best running back in the entire SEC, one of the best running backs in the entire country, both with very talented edge rushers. Missouri with 2 of the best in the entire country, both with Missouri's defense is very good, both with solid defenses. Both teams like to run the ball. Both teams like to possess the ball. I'm going to run through some stuff really quickly here. 2 of the top 20 scoring offenses in the country. Missouri averaging 35.3 points per game against FBS opponents. That is 16th in the country. All of these stats are only going to be against FBS opponents, not including FCS stats. Vanderbilt, the 4th-ranked scoring offense in the country, averaging 40.8 points per game. Both these teams are top 20 in yardage. Vanderbilt averaging 454.5 yards per game as a team. Missouri averaging 474 yards per game as a team. Missouri really likes to run the football. Missouri is running the football 57.7% of the time, while Vanderbilt's running at 53.3% of the time. Missouri ranks top 25 in the country in running the football as a percentage of plays. Both top 20 rushing attacks in efficiency. Missouri averaging 5.3 yards per carry. That is 17th in the country. Vanderbilt averaging 6.4 yards per carry. That is 3rd in the country. Both with solid passing attacks, both top 25 in completion percentage. Missouri completing 68.2% of their passes. That is 17th in the country. Vanderbilt completing 67% of the passes. That is 23rd in the country. Now, where things differ, Vanderbilt has been very good at protecting Diego Pavia has been incredible at avoiding pressure. Vanderbilt, as a percentage of dropbacks, is only allowing sacks 2.26% of the time. That is 6th in the country. Missouri, on the opposite end of the spectrum on that, they are allowing sacks on 7.8% of dropbacks. That is 106th in the country. Another place where these teams do slightly differ, Missouri in turnover margin is outside of the top 100 with negative 0.7 as their turnover margin, while Vanderbilt is 54th in the country at plus 0.2. Both of these teams, a little interception heavy as a percentage of dropbacks and a percentage of throws. Vanderbilt throwing interceptions on 2.89% of throws. That is 93rd in the country. Missouri, Bro Pribula, throwing interceptions on 3.7% of pass attempts. That is 114th in the country. Another place where both these teams differ. Missouri, one of the least penalized teams in the entire country, only averaging 4 penalties per game. That is 9th in the country, while Vanderbilt is averaging 6.7. That is 83rd in the country. Both of these teams really like to possess the football. Missouri is top 5 in time of possession percentage, possessing the ball 58.8% of the time. Vanderbilt sitting at 24 in the country, possessing the ball 53.1% of the time. While these teams do play differently, have different schemes, do things differently, the stats play this out that this is going to be a damn competitive ball game. These teams are mirror images of each other on the statistical side of things. Now, your eyes will tell you that some things are quite different between these teams, but running into some of Missouri's key players. Number one, we will start with the quarterback position, and that is Bo Pribula, who I mispronounced all preseason as Pribula, but it's Pribula.
Same here.
We corrected that pretty early in the season. Had we'll say a solid season so far. I think better than a lot of people expected, for sure. I said something during the preseason predictions that I wasn't sure, but one of Auburn and Missouri was going to be better than we expected, and one was going to be worse than we expected. Well, that has clearly played out that Missouri is better than we expected them to be. Auburn, worse than we expected them to be. Bo Pribula on the year, 149 for 213, 1,617 yards, 11 touchdowns, 7 interceptions, as well as he has been sacked 17 times this season. That Missouri offensive line has struggled with opponents pressuring their quarterback. Running the football, Missouri has maybe the best running back in the country in Ahmad Hardy. He is phenomenal. He is a phenomenally talented player. 139 carries from the year for 840 yards. That is 6 yards per carry, already with 11 touchdowns on the season. They also have a very solid RB2 in Jamal Roberts. Kevin Coleman Jr. is their leading pass catcher. I believe he has 44 catches on the year. Let me double check that. That is correct, for 449 yards. They also have a very talented tight end and red zone threat in Brett Norfleet, 25 catches, 221 yards, and 5 touchdowns on the season. On the defensive side of the ball, this is where Missouri really stands out outside of the running game. Missouri has an elite defense and very, very, let me repeat it, very elite edge rushers. Damon Wilson and Zion Young. Damon Wilson, number 8, 5.5 sacks on the season. Zion Young, number 9, 5 sacks on the season. If Vanderbilt is going to compete and win this game, they're going to have to control those two very talented pass rushers. Josiah Trotter is by far Missouri's leading tackler. I think he has 44 total tackles on the season. Nobody else even approaches that. Very talented linebacker for Missouri. That is a very quick rundown of Missouri's players and star players. Trevor, anything you have on Missouri?
Yeah, really, you've highlighted it from a lot of the star aspects. Ahmad Hardy, Kevin Coleman, Zion Young, Damon Wilson II are the guys that I have highlighted. I've been doing it every week. I've come out of the closet as a advanced analytics guy. I've always been that, but I didn't want to get made fun of. But I'm going to accept it, and I'm going to continue it on. Mizzou EPA per pass, number 33 in the nation. Really, really good. EPA per rush, Mizzou number 12 in the nation. That just goes to show you, as you stated, what Ahmad Hardy is capable of. Defense, a lot of the same. EPA passing defense, 21st in the nation. I will say, Mizzou is susceptible in the run game. EPA per rush defense, they are 62nd in the nation. You highlighted Bo Pribula in how – did I get that right? Pribula, damn it. Bo Pribula and his turnovers. An interesting stat I found, when Bo Pribula is under pressure, he completes 53% of his passes when he is under pressure. Bo Pribula, I want to say Pribula so bad. Bo Pribula has thrown 7 interceptions. 5 of those interceptions have come when he is under pressure. When he's under pressure, he crashes. It's not really a knock on him. That's just kind of a thing with football. It's a golden rule. Pressure, you're going to get turnovers. But that's something that I really, really want to highlight. Almost all of his turnovers have come whenever he has faced pressure. So I think that's going to be a key for the Vanderbilt defense.
That's where the deep analytics are interesting. Trevor, deep analytics, was a closeted deep analytics guy. Now he's come out loud and proud.
Yeah.
Missouri as a team against FBS opponents is only allowing 2.7 yards per rush. That is 7th in the country. Now, teams are not running the ball a lot against Missouri. They're only running the ball 27 times per game against Missouri. That's a lot to do with Missouri getting leads early. That is the second least rush attempts per game of any team defensively. Do you want to get to our 3 keys here?
I'm ready.
3 keys to victory. Trevor, you got first as always.
Yeah. I feel like I'm going to once again take one of your keys to victory, but I'm going to go incredibly chalk. I love this matchup of the Vanderbilt defensive line versus the Missouri offensive line. I love Vanderbilt's awesomeness. I think Vanderbilt is capable of getting pressure on Bo Pribula. Thank God I got it right the first time. Bo Pribula. Vanderbilt, in terms of their defense, has been really, really, really good in the run game. Now, like you stated, I agree. Ahmad Hardy, in my opinion, I think probably is the best running back in the nation. You have an unstoppable force meeting an immovable object in Hardy and the Vanderbilt run defense. Who is going to crack? I think that's a fascinating point to watch.
That's your key to victory, number 1.
Yeah, sorry, that wasn't concise whatsoever. The defensive line is going to have to eat. That was not concise whatsoever.
I didn't know exactly where you're going.
I apologize.
Okay. So my key number 1 is going to be related to the defensive line, but it's make Pribula beat you with his arm. Now, the stats will tell you Pribula has been a pretty efficient passer outside of the turnovers. The eye test will tell you that clearly the strength of Pribula's game is not being a pocket passer. Okay, Missouri fans are going to shit on that, whatever. I've watched all the games. Now, that doesn't mean just providing raw pressure on Pribula. If you don't stay disciplined and contain him, he will eat you alive with his legs. He's very similar. Nobody is like Diego Pavia, but he's very similar to Pavia in that way. If running lanes open, he is going to capitalize. So Vanderbilt needs to provide pressure, and that's going to, in turn, create turnovers if they provide pressure and make him uncomfortable in the pass game. But Vanderbilt has to keep him contained in the pocket. Make him beat you with his arm. He's capable of it, but I want to see him do it for 4 quarters. And if you make him do that for 4 quarters, I think he's going to turn the ball over. So this Vanderbilt defense has a tall task in front of them. They have to get pressure on him, but they also have to be very disciplined against Pribula because he will make you pay if you don't stay in your lane, similar to what we saw Pavia do to that LSU defense, time in, time out. So that's my key takeaway number 1, make Pribula beat you with his arm.
Yeah, I'm going to piggyback off you for my key to victory number 2. I'm going to stay on the defensive side of the ball. I totally agree. I think whenever he's in the pocket, Bo is – I'm just going to start calling him Bo. Bo is not nearly as efficient as opposed to whenever he's outside of the pocket. I think his threat with his legs plus the star power that is Ahmad Hardy, I think is going to be incredibly crucial for the Vanderbilt linebackers to stay gap sound. I think that's something the Vanderbilt offense was able to really exploit this past week against LSU's backers. Coming flip side, I think Vanderbilt's linebackers are going to experience something similar. I think the Missouri offense is going to try to do to the Vanderbilt linebackers with the Vanderbilt offense to the LSU linebackers. Langston Patterson, Brian Longwell, Bryce Cowan, going to have to stay
Nick Rinaldi,
going to have to stay very gap sound whenever it comes to this RPO look and a mobile quarterback. I'm also going to add a Randon Fontenette into that as well.
So my key takeaway number 2, or not key takeaway, key to the game number 2 is one of the way easier said than done ones. But you have to control Missouri's pass rush. We raved about how the offensive line has performed so far, have stepped up to every challenge thus far this season. I think they've only allowed, 5 sacks this whole year. But in that Missouri-Auburn game last week, Missouri's pass rushers were the difference in that ball game. where the difference in overtime sacked Jackson Arnold, forced them out of field goal range, and ultimately that is what won them the game. Vanderbilt and Diego Pavia being aware of the pocket collapsing around him, because regardless of how good you are, these Missouri pass rushers are NFL talents. They're going to get pressure. You just have to reduce the detriment it has to your offense. You can't take the big sacks, the big losses, and maybe you can capitalize on their ability to rush and get up the field. Pavia can find some running lanes, but this Missouri pass rush, you have to do your best to stand your ground against them. So that's my key takeaway number 2. It's going to come down to the offensive line, like it does most games. So far this season, the Vanderbilt offensive line has stepped up week in, week out. They've got to do it again against what I believe is their biggest challenge yet, and that is this Missouri pass rush and Missouri front. So that's my key to the game. Number 2, control Missouri's pass rush.
Yeah, all 3 of my keys are going to be on the defensive side of the ball. And so for my third and final key, I'm going to stay on the defensive side of the ball. I think this is going to be a very, very tight competitive game. I think one of the ways Vanderbilt can win this game is by turning touchdowns into field goals. They did that against LSU. They're going to have to do it again this week. And what they're going to have to do is the defense is going to have to minimize explosive plays. If Vanderbilt's defense can minimize explosive plays, and whenever things get tight in the red zone, if they can get big stops and big stands and force Missouri to kick field goals, I think that just gives all the more edge to this Vanderbilt team. So I'm going to say my third and final key to victory: limit explosive plays and win the battle in the red zone. Once again, one of the most obvious keys in every football game, but it's obvious because it's important in every football game.
That's true. And so far, Vanderbilt has done a good job of that, even though they have not created red zone turnovers necessarily. They've done a good job bending, but not breaking.
Mm-hmm.
My key takeaway number 3, this is something that kind of encapsulates so much of what we've been talking about: win the turnover battle, or at least don't lose the turnover battle. But really in this one, I think it's win the turnover battle. You need to create at least one turnover against this Missouri offense that is slightly prone to turnovers, a little bit more than teams they have faced in recent weeks. You cannot have one of those balls slip through your hands in the back of the end zone. You have to capitalize on that. These two teams are unbelievably even. Very even talent-wise, very even in playing style. Both teams want to win time of possession, and I think ultimately the team that wins the turnover battle is going to be the team that wins time of possession. So it's kind of a 2-in-1 here. Easier said than done. You got to win the turnover battle, and you have to win time of possession in this game. I think this is one that for sure the team that wins time of possession is going to win this ball game. I think that's almost a given in this one, as both teams like to possess the football. So my key to the game number 3: win the turnover battle. Trevor, do you want to get to our predictions before we get to premium message board questions?
I'm ready.
Let's ride. I didn't even say it. The game is at 2:30 p.m. on ABC in Nashville, Tennessee, by the way.
If you're
Forgot to
listening to
throw
this,
that in.
you should
you
know
already
that.
know that. But yeah, let's get to me and Trevor's predictions for the number 10 Vanderbilt Commodores against the number 15 Missouri Tigers.
Yeah, do you want to go first? You want me to go first?
You can go
I've been
first.
going first, and we've been having good luck with it. So I'll continue the streak. And big game, college game day in town. First time since 2008. Will, you know this. The last time college game day was in town, do you know what mascot Vanderbilt went up against?
It was a tiger.
Game day is back in town, and Vanderbilt is going up against the Tigers. It really makes you think. But in all seriousness, this is a really good Missouri team. I agree. I think this is Vanderbilt's toughest test. Alabama was a tougher test, but I think this is Vanderbilt's second biggest test outside of Alabama. I think this Mizzou defense is really good. I worry that Vanderbilt's offense is going to be able to get momentum against them. I worry that Vanderbilt's defense is going to be able to stop Ahmad Hardy. I look at the stats, and as I've watched these Mizzou games, I think this is a really good team. Eli Drinkowitz is a very incredibly talented coach, always gets the most out of his team. I think this is a tough task for Vanderbilt. But game day is in town. And I will do this in the form of a game day prediction. I look at this Vandy team. I see dogs everywhere. Vanderbilt offensive line, best in the nation, going up against an elite Missouri defensive line. I like the doors. I look at the quarterback battle. Bo Pribula coming to town, having a wonderful season. Penn State wishing they still had Bo instead of Drew Aller. But he is going up against a Heisman hopeful in Diego Pavia. Give me Diego Pavia. Eli Drinkowitz continues to be an impressive head football coach, always getting the most out of his team. But on the other side, you have the man that came back to his hometown to lead his alma mater to victory. With that said, Will, give me that helmet. Give me the doors. 24. Mizzou 17. Go doors.
What was the final score?
24-17 doors.
24-17 doors. Doors on top.
Shout Lee Corso.
Mine's not going to be near as exciting as Trevor's as he still wears the helmet here. I think this game comes down to something very simple. I think the two teams are very even. Missouri has the edge in pass rush. Missouri has the slight edge in RB1. And I think Vanderbilt has a stable of backs. Where this game comes down to is offensive versus defensive line. And ultimately, it's going to come down to which quarterback do you trust more. And you're out of your mind if you think I'm taking Bo Pribula over Diego Pavia. I would go lower scoring than this. However, last week I went exactly 24-17. Both offenses performed better than I expected. I'm going Vanderbilt 31, Missouri 27. I think we have a tight ball game here. I think it's going to come down to the fourth quarter. I ultimately think Diego Pavia makes a couple game-changing plays, difference-making plays. Give me the doors, 31, Missouri Tigers 27. Doors on top till I die. That is the Vanderbilt, Missouri preview as Trevor is now going to take off the helmet as we have quite a few premium message board questions to get to here. We will try to run through these as quickly but as thoroughly as we possibly can.
That thing is tight.
It's the Zach Cunningham's former helmet.
Woo!
First up from Unabridged, simply, why not us? Also, how long would Jordan White play in the NFL? That guy is elite. You already talked about that.
Yeah, a long time. He's going to have a long time NFL career.
GLH4VU says, who's got it better than us? Then goes on to ask, is this team with Diego Pavia and the offensive line just inevitable? It feels that way.
Yeah, it does.
Feels like if they play their game and don't turn the football over, this offense is as close to unstoppable as you've seen. I mean, this Vanderbilt offense is basically the number one offense in the country.
Yeah.
When you look at advanced analytics and just basic stats as well.
Yeah.
The last question of this is Mizzou the toughest game left on our schedule? I'm going to answer that one with no.
I'm also going to say no. I think it's Tennessee.
I think it is Tennessee as well. And the reason for that is not that I necessarily think Tennessee's better than Missouri, but it's on the road in Neyland, and the offense Tennessee runs is kind of a nightmare for this Vanderbilt defense with where their weakness lies. With that widespread, it's going to put the cornerback on islands and one-on-one situations. I think that is the weakness of this Vanderbilt team. So I'm going to say Tennessee's number one, but I think Missouri's number two. Toughest remaining on the schedule. And then it's probably Texas, number 3. And if you would have told me that going into the year, I would have said you were crazy.
Yeah.
But I watched that Texas-Kentucky game. Texas is unbelievably beatable.
Yeah.
Unbelievably beatable.
Even in Austin.
Pavia Mafia says, who is your top choice for College Game Day guest picker as well as the live music performance?
Yeah, so we were discussing this. I mean, I think everybody wishes that it would be Nate Bargatze. However, he's already been a guest picker once this year, and he's on tour. I don't think they're going to double up and go Nate Bargatze. I would like for it to be.
Was he already won this year?
I think so. I would like for it to be Al Gore. So Al Gore is the inventor of the internet. That would be who I would pick to be the guest picker.
It wasn't this year. The last time was 2023.
Was it? Was he not a guest picker this year? Huh. My brain played a trick on me. Well, if that's the case, I'm going to say Nate Bargatze over Al Gore. It would go Nate Bargatze, Al Gore, then I would go Dansby Swanson.
Maybe I'm wrong on that. I might be getting AI, but yeah.
Yeah, but my order is Nate Bargatze, Al Gore, Dansby Swanson for the musical performance. The Melodors. The Melodors. That would be my musical performance.
Yeah, I'm going to say number 1, Nate Bargatze. Or actually, number 1, Al Gore. I think it's number 1 by a long shot.
The inventor of the internet.
Number 2, Nate Bargatze. Number 3, probably Dansby. Number 4, Tim Corbin. That's what I'd rank him as.
Number 5, Skip Bayless?
Yeah, Skip Bayless in there. Let's put him in there with his god-awful takes. But man, he would give some great clips. I will say that. I don't give a shit about the live music performance. So
I didn't even know they did a live
yeah, I
music
didn't know they did that either. Ezra Chris Magnon says 7 games into a magical season. I'd love to hear what's the biggest positive and negative surprise about this team so far.
Surprise. I thought the offensive line would be good. I did. You can go back and you can check it. I thought they would be good. I didn't think they would be best in the nation. So I'll go, that's my biggest shock, positive. Negative, I'd go, I don't know. Secondary, I guess. But like that's also a position group that we weren't super high on going into the season. Yeah, I guess.
Yeah, I'm going to say the positive is pretty obvious. It's the offensive line.
Yeah.
We thought they would be good. They've exceeded every expectation I possibly could have had. And then I don't know if there's been any negative surprises. That's the biggest
Issa
part.
Wataha being out for the season.
Yeah, there hasn't really been. They're 6-1. There hasn't really been a top 10 team.
Yeah.
There hasn't really been a negative surprise. Maybe you could say the negative surprise is Martell Height really hasn't done much in the punt return game. I just expected more out of that. That's it. Is Martell Height's utilization? I just expected more out of it.
Yeah.
But he's been good at corner, solid at corner. There haven't really been negatives. Like I'm usually wet blanket Will. There's have not been negatives with this team. I'm not going to find a lot of negatives with a 6-1 top 10 team. Sorry. World's Strongest Vandy fan says Cade McConnell is going viral right now for his double stack of pancakes with extra syrup. Has he been the breakout player of the offense?
I mean, I want to say MK Young.
Yeah, MK Young, Trey Richardson, Cole Spence, but the whole offensive line.
The offensive line, the V Union as a whole has, in terms of the team, the biggest surprise position group breakthrough.
He goes on to ask multiple questions. Next one is, what time will you be arriving to game day? Where will it be? Should we purchase a tent?
Yeah, so I'll tell you right now what the game plan is. So we're still doing lot 2, however, but I'm gonna explain this, and Miller's on board. Me, Miller, and Jacob Scholl are getting to lot 2 at like 5:30, 6 in the morning. We're setting up our tailgate. Then we are going over to Wyatt Lawn for college game day. Miller will be back he'll be at game day for like an hour, so he'll be back at the tailgate. We'll still be at game day. As soon as game day is over, we will all go back to lot 2 and be at lot 2 until about an hour before kickoff. And about an hour before kickoff is whenever I usually head to the stadium. So that's my plan.
Yeah, we're going to college game day, but we're having the same lot 2 tailgate, and it's going to be set up, but it's just after game day ends, it's going to be the full lot 2 tailgate versus, starting like we usually do at 6:37 a.m.
I was fixing to say, if you go to lot 2 during college game day, Miller will probably be there, but the rest of us are going to be at game day. In fact, Miller actually might be at game day himself as well.
Dude, this is another question. What is the likelihood we get a live performance of Coming to Your City, either the OG Big and Rich version or the new one with Rucker and Friends? I didn't know that they did.
I didn't know they did musical performances.
Am I just crazy? Maybe this is just a Nashville thing. They're doing a musical performance. I don't think that's a normal thing they do.
I don't give a rip about a musical
I don't care about a
either.
musical performance at all. Dirks Bentley, Bargatze, Dansby, anyone else I'm missing for options to be guest picker?
Al Gore.
Al Gore and Tim Corbin. Do we see the long-awaited reappearance of Bobby Johnson for a national audience? No, guys.
Yeah, I don't. He's not in great health.
He's not in great health.
And that's a travel for him from all the way from South Carolina to Nashville.
Yes.
I wish.
I wish.
But I don't. Yeah.
I don't think so. JDL Cav says, not a question, but a comment. I am extremely impressed by your steadfastness on the Vandy schedule. I thought you might lapse into tough schedule talk. You haven't. Great work. As I will repeat my rant, the schedule will always be tough for Vanderbilt. And in fact, this year, how it has played out, not the toughest schedule, not as tough as we initially anticipated overall.
Oh, yeah.
But you're always going to have a tough schedule. I know that's why they were trying to get a rise out of me. Scott Reed says, the Alabama game notwithstanding, is there a better play caller than Tim Beck? It seems like every week the talk is Vandy hasn't faced this kind of defense. When will we hear the opposition hasn't faced this kind of offense? One quick comment, our tight end room is elite. I don't know if/when this narrative is ever going to change, but Missouri's defense is extremely talented. Do not get me wrong. This is probably the best defense, in my opinion, Vanderbilt has faced, at least with their pass rush ability. Missouri's previous opponents, let me just read them off for you in the offenses they have faced. Central Arkansas, Kansas, who they gave up 31 points to, Louisiana, South Carolina, who they gave up 20 points to, UMass, Alabama, who beat them, put up 27, and Auburn. That's not exactly a list of elite offenses outside of Alabama.
Yeah.
So it's always weird to me. It makes sense because they're just reading Vanderbilt, but it's like it's always looking to poke. Well, what defenses has Vanderbilt played? I would want to go the other direction and say, look at who Missouri's defense has played. That's not exactly a list of gauntlets of offenses.
Yeah.
So that doesn't take away from how talented. I do believe this is an incredibly good Missouri defense. Don't get me wrong. But I made this point about LSU, and look what happened. I made this point of look at the offenses they have faced outside of Ole Miss. They're talented, but what makes you think they're this elite, impenetrable defense? And I got a lot of shit online about it. And Vanderbilt put up 31 points on them. So I would point to that and say if Vanderbilt can control Missouri's pass rush, I think they can move the ball up and down the field, just like they have week in, week out. They did it against Alabama. They just turned the ball over in the red zone. They did it against LSU. They did it against a talented South Carolina defensive front. So at some point, that's got to shift. That's a great question. I also agree. The tight end room is elite.
Yeah, I agree with all that. I think Tim Beck right now is one of the top play callers in America. I think he should be up for the Broyles Award. I think the only other play caller in America right now that can really come close to Tim Beck is probably Alex Gillespie, USF.
Yeah. Somebody responded about the guest picker, JRob1742, and said Sarah Fuller.
Oh, God, J-Rob.
Her trying to inject herself back into the national spotlight pissed me off so bad.
We know
just shut up and go away?
We know that J-Rob is a Sarah Fuller truther. He has a Sarah Fuller jersey.
The biggest embarrassment in the history of Vanderbilt football, and that's saying something. And she just keeps wanting to talk about they just a complete publicity stunt. Absolutely nothing but a publicity stunt and an embarrassment to the Vanderbilt football program. Yet another door lawyer says, is Mizzou honestly the best team remaining on our schedule? Pretty legendary run and everything is still in front of us. We already answered that kind of.
I think you can make the argument they are the best.
They are the best.
The best team.
Maybe.
I just think, playing in Neyland's always tough, but if you just want to take that in a vacuum and on a neutral field, I think Mizzou might be the toughest.
It goes on to ask, also, what the flip was up with our free throws during the scrimmage? Should that be chalked up to preseason rust, or is there cause for legitimate concern? So I was there on that one. Both sides shot free throws atrociously. I think both sides shot in the mid-50s to low 60s. I don't think it's a concern for the rest of the season. I will go on my slight little tangent of there is a big difference between shooting in a gym/arena versus a place with a backdrop, like what most high school gyms and or practice facilities look like. It's why when you see otherwise what look like relatively athletic guys go out and shoot in those contests on the court at halftime and they airball a bunch of shots, it's because they don't have a backdrop. That makes a huge difference when you're shooting the basketball. And that's why when you see these NBA players in the offseason shooting in these closed gyms and doing these kind of close scrimmages, they just look like they can't miss. It's because they have a backdrop behind the goal. That makes a huge difference. So I'm just going to chalk it up to that. They haven't played in a real gym consistently yet. Everybody on Vanderbilt's team, for the most part, outside of the guys you would expect, like Mason Nicholson, they all shoot a high percentage from the free throw line. So I don't think it's a cause for concern. But damn, I would have had an aneurysm if that was a real ball game.
Yeah.
TDR pick recap from last week. I did not do great. Trevor did not do great. I went 4-8. Trevor went 5-7 in the Vanderbilt football player props. I am 8-16 on the year. Not good. Trevor is 11-13. And then he goes on. This is Kodak Black and Gold to give them to us again.
Hell yeah.
Game picks. First half spread, Vanderbilt -3.5, Missouri +3.5.
Missouri +3.5.
I'm going Missouri +3.5. I think it will be a very close ball game at halftime.
Yeah.
Total touchdowns, over under 6.5 for both teams.
Under.
Doing some math in my head.
It was 6.5?
Yep.
Yeah, I'll go under.
I'm going over. I think this will be similar to the LSU game in that there's going to be a little more points than people are expecting. Vanderbilt, over under 1.5 turnovers forced.
Under.
I'm going to go under.
Can I scratch that? I'm going to go over.
If Vanderbilt goes over 1.5 turnovers forced, I think they win this game by multiple scores.
I'm going to go over.
Okay.
With the way Bo Prabula throws interceptions when under
Okay,
pressure.
I'm swapping.
Yeah,
I want
okay.
over.
Yeah, there we
I want
go.
over as well. Vanderbilt over under 0.5 fourth down conversions. I'm going over on that.
Over.
I'm going over on that.
Over.
I vehemently disagreed with Clark Lee going for it at the end of the first half. However, I agreed with the other 2 times that they went for it on fourth down.
See, I agreed with it in the first half. I just thought it was a bad play call, but I loved going for it.
If you're going to go for it, run the football.
I agree.
I did in that specific situation. It didn't end up mattering or ultimately dooming Vanderbilt. They got the field goal. I didn't agree with it there. You had control of the game. You were getting the ball back, punt the ball, live to fight another day. Usually I'm a go for it guy, just not in that situation. Now player props. Pavia, over under 16.5 yards longest rush.
Over.
I'll go over. I'll go over on that one. Alexander, over under 59.5 rushing yards.
Over. I think this rush defense is very susceptible.
I'm gonna go under on that one. I don't think that means he's gonna have a bad game. I just think it's gonna be a little bit more similar to the LSU game. I think like 13 carries for about 50 yards. Stowers, over under 0.5 touchdowns.
Over.
I think this is the game he gets back in the end zone. Sherrill, over under 50.5 receiving yards.
Under.
I'm going under as well. Hoskins, over under 1.5 receptions.
Over.
I'm going over. Spence, over under 16.5 receiving yards.
Over.
I'm going over on that one. We're in a lot more agreement.
Yeah, we
on this
are.
one.
Yeah.
Sylvan Park Door says, do your best to try and explain or describe Eli Drinkowitz. What's wrong with that guy? A touch of the tism.
Nerd.
Touch of the tism.
Nerd.
Don't worry. This podcast is full of touches of the tism. Don't you worry. It's not a shot, but that's what it is.
Yeah. I just think I think he's your prototypical like Star Wars nerd. And it's like every May 4th, he's like, May the 4th be with you. Like I really think he's that guy.
Hell of a ball coach.
Great ball coach, but nerd.
Pepper Door says, how does Clark Lee traverse the sideline without a wheelbarrow to accommodate his massive sack? Clark's unwavering aggressiveness to stick with going for it on fourth down provided Diego room to cook, and boy, did he, as he crossed out something here, serve up some gold plate specials. Obviously, the Cajun scramble to cross field pass to MK Young was legendary, but the pocket awareness he showed on the 20-yard touchdown scramble was unreal. How does he feel that blindside pressure and react so perfectly? God, he's fun to watch.
Yeah. So if we were allowed in post-game media, I would ask that question to Clark. I'd be, Clark, how do you traverse the sidelines with such a huge ball sack? And then they would kick me out. But to answer your
That's
question,
why we don't have press credentials.
but that just might have got us banned from fall camp next year.
There's a possibility. The staff loved it.
To answer the second question, how does Diego Pavia feel that? He's just a magician. I think he literally is like a sorcerer.
It's one of those you can't teach it things.
Mhm.
That Diego Pavia has a lot of the you can't teach it aspects to his game, which is what makes him such a damn good college quarterback. Arlen, most opposing teams' fan bases seem to think that putting a spy on Diego will contain him. Has putting a spy on Diego ever actually worked? Not really. Maybe South Carolina last year. But when you put a spy on Diego with their running game, it's going to eat you alive. 'cause
Yeah,
you're
it
gonna be
just
out of your
so many
gaps.
holes. Yeah.
Yeah, it's this Tim Beck offense. If you put a spy, it's just brutal with how much Vanderbilt runs the football. If they were just a pass-first offense and Diego just scrambled, then sure. But this offense, that's brutal.
Yeah, I mean, if you put a spy on Diego, then you're truly playing like 10-on-10 football, and the offense is going to win that most of the time.
This is a long one. From Mr. Magoog says, I saw someone trying to dunk on Trevor on X for a tweet from the end of the 2023 season calling for the staff to be fired. Want to give you an opportunity to speak to it, but here's my take. People who are trying to shame fans for having a pessimistic outlook on Clark Lee and the staff at the end of the 2023 are trying to rewrite the narrative to make themselves feel like the truly loyal fans who never had a doubt. Buddy, if you didn't have a doubt at the end of 2023, then you weren't paying attention. They were 2-10 with almost no reason to believe it was getting better. They were losing any good offensive player in the portal with no positive outlook ever being able to compete for and retain talent to build towards a better future. And guess what? Clark Lee knew it. He ended up firing both offensive and defensive coordinator. He promoted himself to defensive coordinator, a move Derek Mason did as well, and made an audacious play to basically purchase the New Mexico State offense and again to save his job. It could have easily backfired or just delayed the inevitable end of his tenure, but guess what happened? Instead, it has the potential to be the single greatest mid-tenure turnaround in the history of college football. It is the stuff of Emmy Award-winning documentaries. But if anyone seriously didn't think it was bad at the end of 2023 and that things just, quote, needed more time, you are by yourself. Even Clark Lee didn't believe that. And you know what? He did what he needed to do to throw out his entire plan in favor of a new plan. Trying to rewrite history and say, see, I told you, doesn't make you a more loyal fan. It actually takes away from how impressive the turnaround was and how amazing a job Clark Lee has actually done. Anyway, me coming to the defense of Trevor, curious what your thoughts are on how the 2023 season is a pivotal chapter to telling how amazing the story is.
Yeah, thank you, Magoo. So for a little bit of context,
I will say I defended him as well.
Yes,
on Twitter.
a lot of people defended me, including Will. Thank you guys for that. The context is I quote tweeted a Ryan Seymour note tweet that he made, basically one of the many for where he called for the firing of Candace Story Lee, #woke, basically saying that she was a joke. She wasn't qualified for the job. This was back in 2023. I would make the argument that even though football was awful back then, Candace Story Lee was still very much qualified for the job because what she was doing, what she was doing with Vandy United was unprecedented. You can't make that. You can't argue against that.
No, this is where I will add a little.
But this is the
caveat.
context
Yes, yeah.
is you cannot what she was doing with Vandy United and the transformation of the campus was unprecedented. Nobody can say that. Nobody can say otherwise. That was my thing is Ryan Seymour, for context, continually didn't attack the football program for losing and attack the staff for being inept. He attacked Candace Story Lee. And he continually did that. And I just said, stay on that side. So thank you, Magoogs, as well as everybody else for coming to my defense. I stand by what I said. That staff in 2023 sucked. Clark Lee realized it sucked. I did come out last year and I did apologize and say I was wrong for wanting Clark Lee to be fired because he ended up making all the right moves. So I did come back and I reneged on that. Had he not, I would have still made my point. So thank you.
Yeah, I just defended it by saying, well, if you just look at that, Clark Lee, they did clean house.
Yeah.
And change everything. Clark Lee recognized.
I think Clark Lee would
have
have seen my tweet and been like, yeah, man, he's right.
I mean, it was the parable I've told like 80,000 times. It's you have 3 envelopes. One of them's blame your predecessor. The next one is blame your staff. And the third one's go buy 3 envelopes. That's what Clark Lee did. He opened up the second envelope and completely changed his game plan. It's a credit to Clark Lee.
It is, yeah.
And how intelligent he is that he realized I need to set the ego aside and bring in some more experienced guys with success, with more experience coaching.
Yeah. I will say, too, a wonderful point he brought up. This will be the last thing I say on this post. He brought up a great point, and we will look back on that 2023 season as a true turning point for Vanderbilt football.
They were running the spread. I mean, it's a crazy difference of what this offense is doing now. It's the whole team is different than what it was. I will say the part that I disagree with Seymour on is the like quote unquote woke part of it. The issue I had with Candace Story Lee, which I've apologized, Candace Story Lee's done a hell of a job.
Yeah.
Okay. I've publicly on this podcast said it multiple times. I was wrong. The issue I had with Candace Story Lee had nothing to do with race or being a woman. It was the fact that she had only ever worked at Vanderbilt.
And that's a fair criticism.
That was my critic when it wasn't going well. Was like you hired somebody from the internal who played basketball at Vanderbilt, who then built her career at Vanderbilt to then perpetuate the stagnant, unsuccessful athletic program because it was a safe hire by Vanderbilt. Yeah, you're going to make headlines for hiring the first SEC AD that's a woman, but mainly it's just safe. She's not going to push the boundaries, but she has.
But she has, yes.
Exactly. And I was wrong. I was wrong. And I will say it, Candace Story Lee has done a hell of a job. And her and Daniel Diermeyer deserve all the credit in the world for what they've done. Daniel Diermeyer is somebody that we mention constantly, or I mention. It's like the only place I see him mentioned. He is as responsible for the success as anybody else, allowing Vanderbilt to compete at this level. Daniel Diermeyer has changed everything. Candace Story Lee has taken the ball and run with it and done a hell of a job.
Yeah, I totally agree.
Bobby Joe says, apologies if this is a dumb question from a proud supporter, but typical lurker. We love hearing from
you. No dumb questions.
Just dumb people. I see all the speculation about James Franklin next year. Why would he ever work again? Do we just figure he's Belichick type, doesn't know how to enjoy retirement, or does his $40 million unemployment benefit come with the same strings as the rest of us and require him to try to find another job? Maybe I'm misunderstanding what a buyout actually means.
I think James Franklin, and this is not James Franklin. I think this is football coaches in general. And I think you could even make the argument for Clark Lee. I think in order to be a Power 4 head football coach, you have to be egotistical in some sense. You have to be egotistical. And I think the reason that these guys get these big buyouts and still immediately go back into coaching is this sort of sense of still giving to their ego and wanting to be in the limelight, wanting to be the head football coach of a P4 school. And that's not a knock on James Franklin. I think in order to be a head football coach, I think you kind of have to have that. But James Franklin is not coming back to Vanderbilt under any circumstances. No. That's just
he wasn't asking that.
Yeah, that's just, but he made the points like I'm seeing a lot of this, like James Franklin back to Vanderbilt.
No. He said, I see all speculations about James Franklin next year. Why would he ever? I think he was just saying generally taking a job next year.
Because I have also seen a lot of Alex tweeted like the James Franklin.
Yeah,
I think in order to be a head football coach, I think he has to be a little bit egotistical.
I also, it's exactly that's part of it. And then I think the other part is if you get into coaching, if you truly pursue that, I think there's this misconception that like everyone that starts out in coaching, you see the giant contracts that these guys get, you gotta fucking love it.
Yeah.
You have to be like sick in the head, addicted to football, like 18, 20 hours a day. Like that is, you live and breathe it. And I think that that's just how these guys are wired, and they just love it. And even if they don't love it, it's just this inside of them. They can't not do it. That's what they are.
It's like an addiction.
Yeah, in some sense.
I totally
think
agree.
It's the ego combined with that is like, that's their passion. They are living their passion. It's not, it is, everything to some extent is about money. Do not get me wrong about that. But at the end of the day, when you get into coaching, those first few jobs you have as a GA or whatever you're hired at, you ain't making good money. Like that, you're
not making a livable wage.
Yeah, you get into it because you love it and you are addicted to it. And those that aren't completely addicted to it do not make it to the level that James Franklin has made it to. If you make it to that high level, you are a freak. And that's what James Franklin is.
I totally agree. I agree.
I've been critical of James Franklin. He's a hell of a football coach. Like, I think that is, in my opinion, a firing Penn State is going to regret.
I agree. I agree.
especially in the NIL era. And I think wherever James Franklin goes, I think Florida's a possibility. I think there's a lot of possibilities. I think in the NIL era, when he had one bad year basically with Penn State.
Yeah, and it wasn't 14.
I wasn't talking about this year.
No,
But
it wasn't 14, was it?
I don't remember. I'd have to look it
Yeah.
up. But that was a quick trigger. I'm just shocked with that buyout that they let him go. I know it's been disappointing for Penn State fans, but it feels like the Penn State admin is living in football from a decade ago. You don't let a guy like that walk with a $40 million buyout. He needs to show if he comes back next year and does the same thing, then you fire him. I think that was a quick trigger.
I tell you what, man, if Florida State does go through with this Mike Norvell firing, the first call I'm making is James Franklin. Could you imagine James Franklin recruiting in Florida in the ACC?
Monster.
Oh, dude.
A few answers. JRob1742 said, Will Byrum over under 1.5 voice cracks on this pod? So far, I'm at 0.
0,
so
yeah.
Suck it. Which I'm shocked after how hoarse I was on Sunday after that game. I couldn't speak over like a whisper. So I'm pretty proud of 0 voice cracks. Now I'm going to curse myself and they're going to start hitting. KY Door says, question, what defensive adjustments do we expect we put in place to contain/pressure Missouri quarterback Prabula? Say gap integrity, but overall, like what they're doing right now, they're getting pressure on the quarterback consistently. I think as a base set of their defensive line without blitzing, Vanderbilt has like the #1 pressure rate in the country.
Yeah. I think from a technical aspect, I think something that could confuse him with his kind of turnover prone as he is, I think simulated pressure could kind of throw him for a loop. Like what Stephen Gregory did in South Carolina, dropping back Zaylen Wood, I could totally see him revisiting that this game.
Yep. McNulty Nash 1, our Ray of Sunshine says, okay, guys, we need to strategize about game day. I took Miles back in 2008 when he was a sophomore in high school, and we got there about 6:30 a.m., and it was a blast. The question is, how early should we get there? And will they let us park in lot 2 before 6 a.m. so we can walk over to game day? They should let us.
They should. Yeah.
They should. And we'll be there early.
Yeah.
I'll be there at 6 a.m. as well.
We'll be there at 6 a.m. Yeah.
But we already kind of ran through our game day plan.
Just text us, Mark.
Mocuv, MOCUV 14 says, should we start a public database thread of Vandy fans who sell their season ticket seats to away fans? Still working out the logistics, but have a running list of seats near you that have away fans sit in them. Each time you see a Vandy fan sitting there, politely ask if these are their season tickets. If no, carry on. If yes, shame them and add it to the wall of shame thread. I vote we could beta test this system in Section F. Got to make it socially unacceptable to sell your season tickets to away fans. I'm only halfway joking.
Yes.
My #1 tweet was, the first tweet I put out is, if you sold your tickets, fuck you. Simple.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you sold your tickets to that LSU game, you are not a real Vanderbilt fan. You can.
You're no friend of mine.
I'm an all aboard the bandwagon guy. Okay. Vanderbilt needs to grow their fan base. However, you are not a true fan. There's differences. You're a bandwagon fan. You're looking at these season tickets as an investment. If you could not, me and my dad have had season tickets for a long time. Not one time has he sold his tickets.
Mm-hmm. I've never sold
we've
my
been able
tickets.
to go to all the games. One of us has been able to go to every single game. But if that was the case, we would give them away to Vanderbilt fans before we would sell them.
Yep.
It's ridiculous. If you consider yourself a Vanderbilt fan and are selling your tickets, fuck you.
Yeah.
And yeah, let's start the thread of shame. I like that.
Yep, I totally agree, man. I think it's a travesty, and you said it perfectly, man. If you do that, you are truly a piece of shit, and I don't want to be associated with you.
Denver Door says, what makes our offensive line so elite? Is it better strength and conditioning, scheme, just better players? And where would you rank this O-line in the SEC as of today? Easily, objectively, top 5 without a doubt in the SEC, and top 3, I think.
I think too, it's just better players. Like if you look from the left side to the right side, like Vanderbilt's never had a Bryce Henderson. Vanderbilt's never had a Cade McConnell. Vanderbilt's never had a Jordan White. So I think it's players. I also think that Chris Klenakis is a hell of a coach. I'm biased. I'll stand by this. I don't think this is being biased, though. I think this is the best offensive line in the SEC. I think it's out there with Alabama, and Throw the ball down. I'm taking the boys in black and gold.
Yeah, I think so much of this, like coaching is not overrated. Coaching matters. Do not get me wrong on this. However, coaching can only do so much. You need dogs. Vanderbilt has 5 dogs on that offensive line. They just do. And also, this is not taking away from the offensive line at all. It really helps when you have a guy like Diego Pavia back there. Like, I don't want to understate that. If you have Kyle Shermer behind this offensive line, they've given up a lot more than 5 sacks. Like, Diego Pavia consistently feels the pressure and rolls out all the time. And so the offensive line deserves a lion's share of the credit, but Diego Pavia needs a lot of credit for how good he is at navigating the pocket as well. So it's a combination of better players and having a mobile quarterback, which for years Vanderbilt fans have continuously yelled about. Now, that's an easier said than done thing, because a lot of times mobile quarterbacks are not the best at seeing the field in the passing game, but you've got a unicorn here in Diego Pavia, and that's helping out the offensive line.
Yeah.
Red Door, his football question. Do we have any insight into how much of the play calling against Alabama was Tim Beck and how much was Diego Pavia? It feels like the combination of Bama, GameDay, and Manziel got to Pavia and pushed him to try to do more himself. I think it's a combo.
I think there's also no way to definitively know. I think the only way you could know is just by going back, watching the game, and see how many times Diego checked. But with that being said,
they only ran it 18 times total as a team.
Yeah. But with that being said, like, it didn't work out. But they obviously, you'd be dumb not to trust Diego Pavia with the responsibility to check and to change play calls.
He goes on to say he seems to have learned some humility and taken it to heart. That loss might have made Diego a better quarterback and us a more dangerous team if we make the playoffs.
I think the argument could be made.
It's definitely a lesson to be learned that you can't be Superman. If you try to be Superman, that's when mistakes happen. You can have the most insane confidence in yourself, but the moment you start trying to play hero ball, that's when things can go badly. And then a basketball question says, I hate to say it, but are there times we miss Carey this year? It might be selective memory of the UT games, but he seemed to thrive against teams with an aggressive post presence. I think, of course, there will be moments. Jalen Carey's a very good player. But I think but let's not like repaint history or rewrite history. This Vanderbilt team struggled to rebound the ball because your center was 6'8". Jalen Carey was a very aggressive player. He did a great job at his size, but having a guy that's 6'11" in Jalen Washington is going to make a difference. Vanderbilt's still going to struggle on the boards, in my opinion. But yeah, there are going to be moments you miss Carey, but let's not pretend like inside was dominant last season by any stretch of the imagination. Mason Nicholson is a monster as well. He's a big body. You have 2 centers that are 2 very different body types.
Yeah. You got one that would thrive in a physical game style.
And the final question is one of our favorites.
Oh, please be the poem.
The Commodore Man's Commodore.
Yes.
The Common Man's Commodore 95. Dearest mother, the chill of winter shall trouble us no more. For this Christmas brings with it an exotic quilt from a tiger named Mike. A trophy from the dismantling of the Bayou Boys. Word of our continued efforts rip clear across the Western Hemisphere, and I dare say even the distant battalions of Eastern Europe, though their minds could never comprehend. Our troop, boasting in genuine black and gold, prepares for a new enemy that is in our crosshairs. This feeble-minded tiger proclaims to have gold upon its banner, but Saturday shall surely remind them of the shimmer of gold sparklers and future Commissioner Josh Pate's bald head, spread throughout a sea of Commodores. Let the family be told, let the town be roused, and see that libations flow amongst the streets, for our campaign continues under the watchful eyes of College Game Day. As always, anchor down, Admiral C. That might have been his best work.
That dude, the blanket being made out of Mike the Tiger, electric. Bars.
All right, anything else you want to add on episode 338 before we close it out?
Dude, I wish it was Saturday, man. I wish it was Saturday.
This week is inching by. Once again, I am struggling to pay attention to my job. The Commodores are consuming my thoughts as our oven is continuing to freaking beep. I hate our property management company. I hate them. All right. For myself, Will Byrum, and my co-host Trevor Hulan, this has been episode 338 of the Door Report, powered by 615 Collectibles.